All right, looks like we're going live. Hello, happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for Coaches, myself included. I am your host, Jeff Klubeck. I'm the author of the book, and this is my third Get a Clue in 52 tips book. You'll recall, just as a matter of brief review, the first one was Get a Clue in 52. I wrote this one in 2019, had all these mistakes in it that I found when I would read a tip every Sunday night in 2020. Remember 2020, that crazy year? Yeah. So I found all the mistakes and then we cleaned it all up and we republished it, cleaned up, a much better version. And in 2021, I still read tips every Sunday night, but I streamed them into the YouTube channel instead of the Facebook group, which we did in year one. Then in last year, in 2022, I partnered with a client of mine who's a friend and a colleague, etc., Vipul Dayal, and we wrote the Entrepreneur edition of Get a Clue in 52. So 5 new categories, all related to being an entrepreneur. And Vipul and I, we read these tips on Tuesday nights every week in 2022. We would get on at 8 o'clock and read into and stream into my Facebook group. And then at 8:30, we would read his version. So we did a co-branded, co-authored, collaborative project where we each got to promote our own brands, but we got to do it together in a really neat and fun collaborative way. So that led me to this year where I'm like, well, what am I going to do for a Get a Clue in 52 this year? What are the 52 tips that I want to do? Where do I want to target this and focus this? And it's really for coaches, myself included. And I say that because I know that I have a lot to give aspiring and emerging coaches, but I also know that I have a lot to learn. I have so much more to do. I was at a conference last week, Education 2.0, and there's my neck was hurting with all of the looking up I was doing to, for these educators that are in the fields, these founders, these innovators, these pioneers in education, some of whom still had a foot in academia like I do, but then also getting into private enterprise in the world of education. Education is business, just like anything else. And I just know that I've got a lot to go. But moreover, as I was working on these tips that I have for the aspiring and emerging coaches, I was reminded of all of the trials and tribulations and the struggles that I went through. I was reminded of when I learned some of these things, or 10 years ago when one of these things really made the difference for a client, or last week when I'm still struggling with some of these things. And so it's a little bit of vulnerability as much as it is viability. It's a little bit of, memoir as much as it is mentoring, if you will. So the 5 categories in this edition are self-promotion. We started off with 11 tips in self-promotion. By the way, let me use my banners. Welcome to Get a Clue at 52 for Coaches, myself included. So we started off, we had 11 tips in the first section, which was, and by the way, there's a typo there. I should correct that. Might as well do it in real time. Why not? The section 1 was on self-promotion. So like we start by becoming a coach. So like we have to convince ourselves that we're a coach and we're becoming a coach. We got to call ourselves a coach. We got to promote it to ourselves. Then we got to promote it to the world. And then if we get good at it at all, we realize, well, coaching is one of the things that we do. There's other things that we can do. So we're not just a coach, we're problem solvers, we're solution providers, and coaching is one of the ways that we might be able to help you solve your problem, on and on. But even so, let me go ahead and save this and say we had 11 tips there. Even so, what we really want to do, to me, the best way that I've ever promoted myself as a coach, the most effective way that I've ever promoted myself as a coach is by showing people, right? So that was segue into our second section, which was on engagement or enrollment. We have 9 tips on the engagement enrollment section. And what it focused on was really how I devised and developed 2 complementary coaching sessions. Very strategic about what I do in the first session and very measured about what I do in the second session. And it's designed to give people a consultative feel and a real, I don't know, like appreciative inquiry and discovery based and consultative approach. I mean, for me, when I learned how to coach, that was one thing. But when I was trying to get coaching clients the way that I was taught to in my training, it just didn't resonate with me. It didn't jive. And so I remember laying up at night thinking to myself, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? I told my wife I was going to be able to make money as a coach. What do I do here? And so I had to crack the code and figure it out. And I devised an approach that was comfortable for me, that works for me, that I have trained many people in at this point in my career. And it'll work for it. It maps to other verticals, by the way, life service professionals like brokers and agents and financial advisors and estate planning attorneys. And right. So when you have to build a huge amount of trust just to even be able to have a conversation about needs and solutions and benefits. Like you can't even get to that conversation without a ton of trust. Then it helps to do it the way I do it. And so I developed those 2 complimentary coaching sessions. The 9 tips in section number 2 of the book are about how I deliver what I refer to as these little pink spoons, right? If you imagine Baskin Robbins, the little pink spoons, you know that if you get a taste of that, a really good taste, that you're more likely to buy. And so that's the whole idea. How do we give people a really good taste of coaching? We know what it is, but we have the curse of knowledge. We are so familiar with what it is that we've forgotten what it's like not to know. So if that gets in the way of us communicating into the marketplace effectively, I've never seen anybody see a billboard for coaching on the side of the freeway and say, ooh, let me call that 1-800 number and get some coaching now. You guys understand what I'm talking about. It's a different sales process, and sales is not a 4-letter word. Sales is a 5-letter word. So we have to mentally get past any barriers and limitations we have to the notion of selling and confronting and asking for the business. And my 2 complimentary coaching sessions are not just to get the buyer ready, but it's to get us ready to ask for the sale, because we deserve to ask for the sale. Say it with me now. Do you want me to be your coach? But it's easier to ask that after I've delivered 2.5 hours of complimentary coaching. All right, I digress. The 3rd section of the book is the section that we're in right now. It's the section on motivation. And we've got 10 tips on motivation, but we're about to cover the second to last tip today. But as a point of review to get you focused on the section, what we talked about first, like understand, the first section was on self-promotion. We let the world know that we're a coach. Then the second section was on getting coaching clients. Okay. So now chronologically, we've got clients. So now these next set of tips are how do we coach? How do we actually coach the clients that we've got? Well, my formula is engagement plus motivation plus accountability will equal the results. So we talked about engagement with self-promotion and enrollment engagement. Now we're into motivation. We'll move on to accountability in just 3 weeks from now. Well, 2 weeks from now, we'll get into accountability. But as a review to catch us up for today's tip reading, we started off with at a high level. We took you guys up to 20,000 feet elevation to look down at the whole field, not just the end zones, but the parking lot and the traffic surrounding the stadium. So you could see all of the moving parts. And generally speaking, when we endeavor to provide or instill or increase motivation for a coaching client, then there's 6 basic outcomes that I believe we want to keep in mind. So we covered that. Secondly, we went into our toolbox. One of the major categories, there's 2 major categories for motivation in our world. One is external, strategies, tactics, resources. And the other, which we're going to talk about today, is internal. Okay. But back to our external toolbox, we need strategies, tactics, resources for the major life and business areas that people want results, right? So health, relationships, finance, and life coaching, right? And sales, marketing, operations, customer service, finance in business. But we start with emotional tools. Then we moved on to talk about physical tools when we need to support people in health, especially this acronym here about TEBED, get to bed so you can rest peacefully. So we can encourage people to focus on their thoughts, their exercise, their diet, their eating, and their breathing, right? Not in that order. If you make efforts to improve just one of those areas, you'll rest more peacefully, right? Moving on, we want relationship tools. This is a really big tip. I had a lot to say about relationships. I happen to feel very wealthy and fortunate and gifted in my ability to attract, cultivate, nurture, invest in, maintain really, really, really deeply held relationships, deeply cherished relationships. And I'm thinking right now about the new relationships that I'm building from the Education 2.0 conference last week. Shout out to Tish and Preeti and Dorothy and Arlene and so many others that we're going to be talking and collaborating and rolling up our sleeves together. If we haven't already, by the way, shout out to Tish. I was on your program yesterday. Was that yesterday? 2 days ago? It was fantastic. Anyway, we move on. Financial tools, right? Then time management. And we call it quote unquote time because I don't really like to call it time management because time manages itself. Who am I kidding to think that I manage time? Like, look, my hands are off the wheel and the clicker is still clicking. 9 minutes and 30 seconds, 9 minutes and 32 seconds, 9 minutes and 34 seconds. Whether I do anything or not, time just keeps rolling, right? Time's undefeated. What I do need to manage is my decisions, my energy, my attitude, my mindset, my preparedness, my priorities, my calendar, my right? Those are things I am 100% in control over. So that's why we say time management, but we have to say the word that is commonly understood by those that we want to lead. So I have to say time management for starters, but once they come in to learn more about time management, we condition them to stop calling it time management, call it self-management, discipline management, decision management, call it something you're 100% in control of. All right, next, tip number 27 was basic business tools like, staffing and contracts and mentors and so forth. And well, that's tip number 27. And then last week we had not business productivity tools, but individual productivity tools, and we went through some of those. So that leads us finally 10 minutes into it, wherever we're at. Let me check out some of these comments real quick. There it is. So Tracy, oh, here we go. A Klu. Who made the decision to use Klu? Looks like a lot of Klu of the group. Oh, come on, Tracy, you know better than that. It's not even spelled that way, and that's on your mind. That's not on our mind, Tracy. I appreciate your question, but there's just no space for that here. That's for somebody else's blog. Tish, thank you. I believe it's great too, especially that you're here. Awesome. Tracy, go ahead and message me privately. We'll have a professional conversation about, Klu. My last name's Klubeck, first of all. And the group that you're referring to, it's not KLU, it's KU. So don't bring that in here, my man. Let's have a private conversation, keep it real. or stay tuned and understand. A couple more minutes, you'll understand my heart-centered approach. I mean, I'm the last person to accuse of something like that. It's kind of funny. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something else. The cover for the book, originally the cover designer for the book, did it with one white person with a backpack. I said, no, send it back and make sure that there's two people, make sure there's a female, and make sure there's black and brown in there. So Tracy, you're just in the wrong program, man, but you're welcome here. And you can message me privately if you want to have a conversation about that. So let's go ahead, having checked the comments, right? That's awesome. Like super awesome. Let me go ahead and get into tip number 29, and I'll, let me hide that banner and go ahead and say tip number 29. And it's funny, we're going to do the checkup from the neck up. That's right. Checkup from the neck up. You, myself included, right? So in other words, it doesn't matter if you have the best strategy in the world. It doesn't matter if you are the best trained sailor to ever sail the seas. It doesn't matter if you've got the best crew assigned to you, dedicated and loyal. It doesn't matter if you've got the best map ever created. It doesn't matter if you've got a blank check from the queen in order to go and trade with. If you believe the world is flat, you're not going to go, despite all of those resources. So it's frustrating sometimes, and it shouldn't be, but it can be frustrating at times when you lead somebody to give somebody the perfect strategy, the proven strategy. Just do this, I know it'll work. And you can't understand why they're just not doing it. Well, that's when we need to get into checkup from the neck up. Now, this is one of the things also, in my opinion, that separates like coaches from world-class coaches. I know that there's some coaches out there, I'm not going to mention names, and I'm sorry if this offends you, but I hope it motivates you to be better. Because I've seen coaches out there say, well, I fired my client because they weren't doing what I said. This has worked for me and it made me millions of dollars. And now my client's wasting my time if they didn't do what I said. I told them what to do and they didn't do it. So I fired my client because they're wasting my time. Sorry, you're not a coach. You're an egomaniac. You're a one-trick pony. And you may be, good enough coach to call yourself a coach. But if you want to be world-class, then you'll figure out how to find out why they're not doing it. And either get them out of their own way so they start doing it, or you have enough humility to embrace 3, 4, 5 different strategies that get them to the same point. Because I can tell you equifinality is multiple paths to the same destination. And if all you've got is one bullet in your quiver, then you're not going to be world-class as a coach. You're only going to be able to deliver value to only the people that are going to be able to execute on your strategy. But you're one type of behavioral style, and there are others. You're one set of traumas in your life dealing with other sets of traumas. Bottom line is the strategy, the tactic, the resources, the ABC of it, the 1, 2, 3 of it, it's very often not enough. Very often what we have to do is get people out of their own way, getting people willing to try a new thing, willing to embrace a new behavior, willing to dip their toes in a new body of water, etc. So these last 2 tips in this section on motivation are about mindset and that internal motivation that we as coaches can provide for people. So let me go ahead and get into it. Having said all of that, let me go ahead. I see there's one more comment. Let me see if I can get into that. Oh, it's Tish. There we go. Tish, keep shining. All right, we'll do, Tish. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead and get back to my banners and my word for word. So here we go. Tip number 29. It's page number 118 if you're following it with your version at home. Here we go. Tip number 29, the checkup from the neck up. A person is only uncoachable for one of two reasons. They are either unwilling to take suggestions in the first place or unable to implement them despite their best intentions. If it is the former, they usually do not enter a coaching relationship. However, when it is the latter, when they enroll, know they want to change, see the issues and paths forward, make the commitments, but just don't take the actions, I believe it is usually because of the emotions they are addicted to. I personally believe the ability to detect and intervene in emotional addictions is what separates transactional coaches from transformational coaches. I like being great at both. You don't have to be, but this tip is for those of you who do want to be. I added that, right? Want to be. And I should probably note that because that's probably okay. If you are a coach, here it is. If you are a coach who likes to fire your clients when they are, quote, wasting your time, not doing, quote, exactly what you told them to do, end quote, this tip and perhaps coaching as a profession is not for you. For the rest of you, do you recall in tip 22, a couple weeks back, when we briefly explained the phenomena of emotional addiction? Yeah, we know. Oh, I'm sorry, let me read that in better rhythm. Do you recall in tip number 22 when we briefly explained the phenomena of emotional addiction? Yeah? We know then that it isn't just alcohol, cocaine, nicotine, heroin, gambling, or pain meds, for examples, that require interventions. Common emotions I believe I have seen my clients addicted to include anger, overwhelm, victimization, guilt, dread, shame, frustration, worry, and inadequacy, just to name a few. The familiar notion of an intervention is when friends and family are all gathered around to confront the addict with the loving plea to get clean or lose the relationships. It is that collective pledge friends, family take to disallow themselves to enable the situation any further. The participants in the intervention, and I'm getting chills right now, I hope you are too. The participants in the intervention must be ready to lose the addict in their lives, which is the predictable course of events anyway. For the friends and family, it is a risky thing to do. We can all imagine the movie or television show scenes where this occurs and is met with violent denial by the addict, as a first response anyway. So remember to beware of, quote, cursive knowledge when talking about behavioral intervention. I have found people are much more responsive to phrases like get you unstuck, get you out of your own way, work on your mindset, or my favorite, we'll do a checkup from the neck up. We also want to remember the automatic hardwiring of ego defense that is always at play, especially as you peel each layer of onion. I am suggesting avoiding the word intervention if doing so will trigger unnecessary defense mechanisms. Here are some understandings that support intervention coaching or any attempt to provide a checkup from the neck up for your clients. Number one, 100% of a person's behavior is an attempt to meet certain needs. See Maslow or Robbins from tip 22. We referred to Abraham Maslow in a hierarchy of needs and all the way up to Tony Robbins and anybody else studying human performance, human behavior, high level of achievement, right? So understand this, 100% of a person's behavior is an attempt to meet certain needs. When status quo behavior creates inability to meet needs, without pain, imbalance, emptiness, or any form of self-destruction, such as unsustainability, burnout, stress, fatigue, numbness, then change is needed. Number two, the evidence of change is behavior. Not what you thought, wanted, wished, hoped, not what I meant to, I didn't mean to, I was gonna. No, it's behavior. Behavior is always the evidence. Understandings are not enough until they spill over into evident, observable actions and behavior. In a sense, all intervention coaching will include or end with getting client commitment to observable action. Three, the change we seek for our clients is transcontextual. Change starts and gets reinforced within the coaching sessions, but is transcontextual when the coaching stays with the client in between sessions and is there to help at the epicenter of critical day-to-day decisions. It's not the true surface of the record, but the groove. Fourth, Get permission and expect resistance anyway. Intervention coaching, because of the defense mechanisms it triggers up front and hard work it requires thereafter, is super risky due to the deep nature of what you are confronting as a coach: patterns, habits, fears, limiting beliefs, emotional addictions. You must get permission to proceed, and you still must expect resistance anyway. Next, lead by example. Ready your own mind before attempting to ready another's. You must be able to author your own state of mind before attempting to co-author your clients, especially in readiness for the resistance that is to be expected. I have been, quote, put on the defensive many times in coaching sessions when the client is resisting their own real work. We must command an unwavering state of mind with complete 100% focus on the goal of intervention for the client. Trust me, I will tell you. What about you, coach? What about you, coach? What about that hat on your head? What about that thing over your shoulder? Why is your screen blurry, coach? Anything to resist looking within. We've got to be ready for that. And we can't get sucked into it. You guys got to understand. You got to author your state of mind before attempting to work with others. Finally, practice, role play, case study, debrief, observe, right? Debrief, observe. Interventions. You cannot just read about intervention and expect to do it well. There is no substitute for immersing experientially with intervention coaching in order to really help clients make lasting behavioral change. All right, there you have it. There's just, scratching the surface, a little dip of our toes into ingredients for intervention, awareness, understandings that we want to have before we endeavor to intervene in a person's stinkin thinkin. Check up from the neck up. And you heard it there: habits, patterns, fears, limiting beliefs, ignorance, willful ignorance. I'd rather deal with ignorance than willful ignorance. I digress. But to me, what it comes down to, the epicenter of all of this is emotional addiction, right? We can get addicted to nicotine, heroin, cocaine, sugar, whatever, because they're chemicals. It's the chemical that the cells in our body end up craving. Well, emotions are chemicals also. We call them feelings because we can feel them. And hear me out. Anger feels different than sadness. Why? Because different chemical combinations. Same way a peanut butter and jelly sandwich feels different than a ham and cheese sandwich. They're still sandwiches. Change the ingredients, change the sandwich, change the digestion, change the texture, change what sticks to the roof of your mouth versus in between your teeth. Are you with me? Right? So you eat peanut butter and jelly, sticking to the roof of your mouth. You eat ham and cheese, it's in between your teeth. Right? So there's still sandwiches. So anger is different than sadness, and inadequacy is different than guilt. Suspicion is different than dread, although they can vibrate similarly. Same through on the positive side. And this is the beautiful thing that I have for you guys, is that we can become addicted to positive emotions. How many of you would agree with me if I told you that I'm addicted to joviality? I'm a fast-paced, variety-oriented extrovert. I've got a stand-up comedy style delivery. And I'm wacky. I'll take chances. I'll make silly dad jokes left and right, up and down. So I'm addicted to jovial. I'm addicted to hopeful. I'm addicted to enthusiastic. I'm addicted to firm, steadfast, unwavering. I'm addicted to gratified, satisfied, pleased. These are emotions that I seek, that I pursue. And so I figure out what I need to do in order to feel those ways. But I can get into that state of mind anytime I want. And it's really helpful. So I'm previewing for you guys, when it comes to motivational coaching, the first tip was overview, outcomes, things that we're trying to achieve when providing motivational coaching. Then we went into specific tips in our external toolbox: strategies for mindset, strategies for physical health, right? Strategies for relationships, finance, business planning, individual productivity, time management, right? And now this tip and next week's tip are about mindset. How do we author our state of mind? So today we've got these ingredients, these knowings, these understandings that we want as coaches to be able to get into it. Next week, we're going to go over the 5 steps. Chronological: step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's when you're doing those steps that you bring all these other tools and techniques and strategies and tactics and resources and dialogues and knowings to bear. So without over teaching, let me go ahead and move towards wrapping up. What I want you to know is that we've got some freebies, right? Why not let you in on these freebies? And these have emerged over the course of the year as we've gotten to these in each particular, like I'll give you an example, 2 free complimentary coaching sessions, right? In section 2, we talked all of the tips in section 2 were about how to deliver complimentary coaching, what to do, how to offer complimentary coaching, how to deliver the first session, how to deliver the second session. It's here in the book. But if you want to experience it for yourself, go ahead and email. What is it right here? You can actually schedule with me on meetme.so. And if I'm not the right coach for you, if you add some notes in there, we've got other coaches that we could match and make a better match. But if you want to understand why we do 2 complimentary sessions, we'll give it to you for free. We've got a 22-minute video where I go into depth about 8 or 9 reasons why 2 complimentary coaching sessions are better than 0, 1, or more than 2. Okay. Another thing for free is we pump content into the YouTube channel. Watch, Get a Klu, all one word. So there's videos up there about time management, and we've streamed all of these streams into the YouTube channel. And we've streamed, like I said, 2 years ago, we streamed all of these tips, the original Get a Klu in 52, into the YouTube channel. So they're all there, ready to be commented on. And there's other bonus content there, etc. It's not free in the long run, but for the first month, it's free. If you go to the professionalcoachesalliance.com website, you can become a member for free for the first 30 days. And then after that, it's just $29.99 a month. And the Professional Coaches Alliance is not there to teach you how to coach. It's there to help you be connected in an ecosystem that helps you build your coaching practice. I say coaching practice. Some others in the organization may say coaching business, but you understand what I'm getting at. We assume you already know how to coach. And now it's like, all right, how do I coach more people? Or how do I coach better programs? Or how do I increase my revenue? Or how do I get better as a coach? Or how do I get dynamic in marketing myself as a coach? Or what's a better way to operationalize my back end so I can do better customer service? Or all kinds of things like that. We're having incredible programming, incredible workshops several times a month. So go ahead and get in there and check it out. It's free to check it out. It's free to be a member for a month, and then it'll convert to $29.99 a month. I'm the vice president of communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance. So get in while you still got me. I don't know if I'm going to renew that position next year, but I'm proudly and happily serving this year and doing what I can to promote the Alliance. I'm always going to be a member and wave my flag. It's just things are growing for me, and I don't know if I'm going to have the time commitment next year. So get in now if you want to network with me and collaborate with me and the wonderful people like Margot Garcia. I'm going to give a shout out to Margot. She's not with us today, but Margot Garcia is VP of Programs. So if you want to speak to the constituents of the Professional Coaches Alliance, if you provide services to coaches and you want to make those services known, if you want to get in the schedule of programming, Margot is the person that you want to reach out and talk to. Tell her Kluby sent you, and that'll be great. And what else can I tell you about? Okay, those are free things. And then when it comes to like offers, like, discount codes on certain things, what we want you to be aware of is group mentoring. That's the thing that's most relevant. So you guys understand this book is all about how I became a coach, promoted myself as a coach, got coaching clients, served coaching clients, and built the coaching practice, right? So this is easy to, it's free to read a tip from the book every week. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to roll up your sleeves, remember how I ended today's tip, that just hearing about intervention is not going to make you good at it. You've got to practice it. You've got to be intervened upon. You've got to practice intervening on others. You get feedback from other coaches. You got to listen to sample sessions of interventions being conducted. And you have to be in an ecosystem where people are willing to be that vulnerable, for coach and coachee and role play, puppeteered by an expert facilitator. I know one, right? So Klu's Ooze is my online office hours. It means it's open-ended, right? You kind of, in that vein, anybody could show up, right? And you can. But the paid portion of it takes you to our membership site where you get access to the archives and you get one-on-one coaching with me or an Integrity Game certified coach, in addition to the 3 live sessions that we do every month. So you could just show up for free to the live session and say, hey, open, office hours. It's ask me anything. And if there's nobody there to ask me anything, or if people are there and they don't ask me anything, we fall back on the content of the Integrity Game. So here, I'm not promoting the Integrity Game. It's Get a Klu in 52. But everything that I built in Get a Klu in 52 is now being rebranded, repackaged, and offered through Integrity Game. So we're in this transition of, brand identity and awareness. Get a Klu is my individual brand, Jeff Klubeck. But the Integrity Game is the brand that you and others can plug into. It's got way more sustainability, way more upside in nonprofit organizations, institutions of higher education, or hospitals, or state and government entities, or major corporations. The Integrity Game is on its way to being that, right? So the coaching and leadership that we do in the group mentoring and online office hours, that's around the content of the integrity game, we're calling it. But it all started with the Get a Clue thing. And then I'm just growing up and emerging and evolving just like anybody else at year 17 of their career, right? So the idea is group mentoring. It comes with 3 live sessions per month, plus access to the archives of over 100 sessions that we did, right? Of all kinds of, for the last 3 years. And then you get some one-on-one time with me as well when you get into it. So it's normally $100 a month, but with the code TIGVIPGM50, you can get 50% off. So for $50 a month, you get 3 live sessions plus access to the archives, plus you get a little bit of time with me every month as well. So that's really valuable, and we hope you check that out. The URL for that is tinyurl.com/TIGClues. OOH stands for online office hours. And another freebie, by the way, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You can email info@getaclu.net if you want my one-pager on strategic staffing. If you're afraid of hiring, or afraid of making a mistake in hiring, or want to reduce cost per hire, or you've made mistakes hiring, and now, right? Anyway, if we have some insights for you on that, we'd love to help out. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's free. Yeah, if you want to promote through public speaking, right? I'm here to tell you that I don't think there's any better way to promote your business or promote your brand than through public speaking. Then we've got some content for you, absolutely free. 8 steps to fearless public speaking. It is a proven 8-step process to getting ready to be on stage, right? A lot of people say, I'm afraid of public speaking. I'm afraid of public. No, you're not. You're afraid of preparing. Why? Because you don't know how to prepare. So forget the being on stage part. You'll do fine as long as you know who you are, what you want to talk about, what about you want to talk about that you really want to talk about. You understand argumentation. You understand the questions in the minds of the audience that you need to answer. You know how to outline it. You know how to practice it. You know how to break it into keywords. You know how to create your visuals. I digress. 8 steps to fearless public speaking. I want to help you be fearless. So that's it. I mean, that's all I got for today. This installment of Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. My thanks again to Tish, who had some positive, uplifting comments, and even my thanks to Tracy, who asked, all questions are good questions, but I hope I gave you the best and most honest answer to your question. That's all in your head. It's nowhere here in this ecosystem, but you're welcome to be here and learn. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help aspiring and emerging coaches. And by the way, it's not just for emerging and aspiring coaches, but leaders in other forms can map what we're doing in this book, map what we do in Clues Ooze, map what we do in the coaching and leadership training to your line of work, right? Especially where high levels of trust are required before you do anything else. Pick up what we're putting down. We love you so much. Can't wait to interact with you. And those of you that want to be a guest speaker and come on the StreamYard side and actually join me, make sure you private message me and make sure you're eligible for those invites, or look at the promotions that we're doing. We usually put the tiny URL. It's a very simple, how should I say, prefix suffix. It just follows the week. So this is 29. So for example, anybody that wanted to join me today, they would go to tinyurl.com/get-a-clue-tip-29, right? That's what you would do to come on into the StreamYard today. So if you want to come next week and be a guest with me on the StreamYard side in the studio and dialogue with me live for everybody to see, then it's going to be easy to follow. The progression is, it's going to be tinyurl.com/get-a-clue-tip. You got it. 30. So there's next week's link in the comments for those of you that get them. Private message me if you want a calendar invite as well on a Google Calendar to remember it. So you just click the link and show up. We'll do whatever we can to make this a big party. I'm here for myself included, but certainly all of the aspiring and emerging coaches out there are those of you that know that when you put the skill sets of coaching into your toolbox, you'll be a better leader in any form. And that's what we want. The world needs more leadership and better leadership, and we're contributing one tip at a time this year. So thanks to everyone that checked it out. Thanks to those of you that are watching in the future, and thanks in advance for those of you that reach out and want to be a part of the ecosystem. I'm Jeff Klubeck. We'll see you next week, everyone, for Tip 30.